we are going to be diving into a whole different industry. Now, we know we have a lot of amazing athletes throughout Trinidad and Tobago, and parents are always asking the questions as to, how can they best support their kids that are looking to pursue athletics. They might not know what comes with the athlete life, how people can sustain themselves as they are building their profiles. This is before the big paydays. How are people able to do athletics, still get paid? Again, we have a lot of questions. And why are we doing this episode? There's a lot of answers that we want to give you. So we brought on one of the most recognizable faces in all of Trinidad and Tobago and the world. Ladies and gentlemen, none other than Mr. Jereem Richards to have this conversation. Now, before we formally bring him in, Jereem is a true ambassador of excellence when it comes to track and field. And he is born in Point Fortin. He has become a global sensation in athletics all across the world. Jereem has etched his name in history as one of Trinidad and Tobago's finest sprinters, specializing in the 200 and 400 meters. His journey has been nothing short of inspiring. He burst onto the international scene with the bronze medal in the men's 4x400 relay at the 2012 World Indoor Championships. And since then, his career has been marked by extraordinary achievements, including a bronze medal in the 200 at the 2017 World Championships and leading TNT to the gold in the 4x400 meter relay at the same event. He is a double Commonwealth Games champion in the 200 meters and recently made history in 2022 by clinching the gold in the 400 meters at the World Indoor Championships in Belgrade, setting a national record in the process. Not to mention his personal best of 19.80 seconds in the 200 meter and a blazing 43.78 seconds in the 400 meter. And it is a testament to his hard work, his discipline, and his dedication. But Jereem's impact goes far beyond the track. He is a symbol of hope and perseverance for athletes from smaller nations, proving that with focus and determination, you too can become a global impact. So today we're going to be taking a deep dive into his journey, the ups and downs of building a career in athletics, especially coming from a small market like TNT. We'll talk a little bit about the business of track and field, and we'll see what advice he has for up and coming sprinters. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Jereem Richards, who is also my younger cousin. Fam, it is a pleasure to finally have you on the show. How things, bro?
Good, good, good. It's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm excited. Happy New Year, everyone. I just want to wish everyone a happy New Year. And looking forward to have a really good conversation, honestly. I know there's going to be a lot of questions asked, and I'm willing to answer and give, the public insight on what it takes to be a professional athlete, but how could you also be successful and make a steady income as a successful track and field athlete?
Absolutely. And again, we have so many people who are, they want to push their kids and give them the right direction, but we don't always have, a lot of outlets to get that information like some of the other countries. So this conversation is going to be, really, really eye-opening for a lot of people. But before we dive into the business, Dream, let's learn a little bit more about you. Where did the love for track and field start? Where did that start off for you?
It started at a really young age, honestly. When I was in primary school, I tried all different sports in PE class. I went to Point Fortin AC School, Anglican, and I tried football. I wasn't really good at that. I tried cricket. I wasn't really good at cricket neither at that point in time, but I was always fast. I enjoyed playing catch with my friends. I was the fastest person. Nobody couldn't catch me. And that's where my love for the sport actually started. And going forward from that, I remember watching the Olympic Games with Otto Bolden, or maybe the World Championships. But the successful career of Otto Bolden, after seeing how he won, how consistent he was an athlete, I told myself I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be better than him. And I even remember flexing my muscles to my dad and saying, I want to be strong and fast like Otto Bolden. So it started at a really, really young age. And I feel like I got that gut feeling like track and field was part of my purpose, and to be able to do something. I feel like from a young age, I kind of knew this is what I was meant to do.
Now, when did you realize that you weren't just fast, but you could actually compete in the international stage? Because we have a lot of fast people. But when did you realize that, hey, you know what, this is actually something I could do and really do this at a high level? When did that realization come for you?
The realization came to me when I actually made my first national team, and it hasn't been an easy journey, but I would say I've been really blessed by God, that the path that I took actually still work out in the midst of the struggle. But when I made my first national junior team in 2010, it was the first time I've ever left Trinidad and Tobago. I never grew up in a rich family, and me making a national team, I think would have been the only reason I left the country. We went to the Dominican Republic. I went there. We came back. I came back with 2 medals from both relays. I didn't get a medal in the individual, but after that experience, running against different countries, traveling the world, and being able to see different cultures, I told myself, this is something that I want to do. This is something I think I'm capable of doing it at a high level, because I felt like there was so much things that I could have improved on. And I think with the little success with having so much things to improve on, I was like, if I actually take this serious, I think I could be really good.
Yeah. Wow. Now, when we look at some of the other countries, the US, you think of Russia, you think of what China's doing, Japan, all these countries, when it comes to athletics and sports, we already know it is a well funded, well oiled machine that they're able to just reproduce and create new athletes. But coming from Trinidad and Tobago, again, it's a smaller market. The economies of scale are not there to create some of the programs like some of these other countries. So, what are some of the hurdles that you had to go through to get to your place, especially coming from a small market like Trinidad, going up against, well, everybody else in the world?
Um, One of the biggest hurdles I would say, being in such a small market, is culturally, it's not really a big sport. We know in Trinidad and Tobago we love cricket because cricket is one of those sports where it's filled with the atmosphere. In a sense, in a lesser word, it have lime and drink. You could lime
Yeah.
and enjoy yourself, and you could drink in cricket. Likewise, football, you could lime and drink in football. And I mean, football is the number one sport in the world, so everybody could associate with football, even though they don't like the sport. Now, when it comes to track and field, even though track and field is the most fundamental sport, culturally, it's not really a big sport. It's the most successful sport in Trinidad and Tobago in the history of sport. It's just culturally not one of the biggest sports. So I think one of the biggest hurdles was we haven't really marketed sport on the whole, but specifically track and field well in Trinidad and Tobago. And with it not being marketed well in terms of investors, they don't really see the value in it as other countries
Mm.
would see. I'm still thankful that I'm able to be sponsored by Atlantic. I'm able to be sponsored by Bryden's company. Um, but a lot of companies, I think, still need to step up and take the initiative to help all these athletes to build the system where we can now see the value in helping out sports, because sports is a huge market. We just haven't really built the system and the structure to enhance it. But it definitely was a big struggle for me and big challenges being in such a small market, and where culturally it's not something as big, I would say.
Yeah. And you know what? That part coming from the small market, and again, when you're looking at what the amount of money that some of these other countries are spending when it comes to sports, and then you're looking at what the budget is for any of the, not just Trinidad and Tobago, but any of the smaller countries. When we have our athletes that medal, I don't think people understand just how much more this means when you are meddling against some of the bigger countries. For you, I mean, you're the one that's running these races. What is your thought process? How do you feel when you're lining up against the Goliaths in the world and you are able to podium or just beat out some of the best, again, coming from where you're coming from?
I mean, David beat Goliath, right? He was David beat Goliath, and he was a giant. So I'm not scared. I'm strong in faith. So I definitely I'm not scared, but it's definitely a big feat. And as you rightfully said, I feel like people honestly put aside the achievements of track and field athlete. It's an individual sport. And when I think it's compared to other sports, like let's say, for example, the national football team, if they make it to the World Cup, that's a big feat. But
Yeah.
likewise, if someone in track and field makes it to semifinals, it's kind of like, well, okay, they couldn't even make it to the final. It's not a big deal. And in my mind, I'm
Wow.
like, there are thousands of people in this world couldn't even run this fast, much less qualify. But when you scale it to other sports, it's like if you don't get a medal and you don't finish top three, it's like it is not worth anything. But there's only three people could leave with something, So it's definitely something I would say that's under we don't underappreciate it for sure in terms of athletes and athletics. But I guess that's just how it goes. But going up against some of the bigger countries in the world, honestly, it's not anything for me that I would like maybe be scared of or anything because I've been there, done that, and
Mhm.
part of the challenge is also I had to leave Trinidad and Tobago and train in the US because there's more resources here for me to be able to harness my talent and be able to be the athlete that I am today. I wish we had that type of system similar to Jamaica. Jamaica in the same Caribbean Sea as us, and a lot of their athletes stay in Jamaica and train, but they have a well-oiled machine. They have a very good structure for something to work. And I think most importantly, they have culture. Culturally in Jamaica, athletes know this is a way out. Coaches know this is a way out. The private sector knows that this is a way out for them. This is value for them. So it works well. The structure there is well for it to be successful. And sport and sport tourism is something big. So I think Trinidad and Tobago has the history. We have good history in sports, so it's not like we can't
Absolutely.
do it. But
Absolutely.
when are we gonna do it? We all
What do
need to
you
come
think?
together.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you make a very good point about Jamaica. Jamaica's in the same sea as us, but they have turned this thing into a well-oiled machine. What are some of the things that when you look at Jamaica, from where you sit, what are some of the things that Jamaica's doing right?
The coaches are well intellectually brilliant coaches. I think they have systems in place like good coaching staff, good strength and conditioning. They're great to massage. Most people from Trinidad, when they want to do sports massage degrees or sports therapy, they go to UE in Jamaica to do it. So
Wow.
from the nutrition to the coaches to the treatment to the medical, all of this is done to the private sector. The private sector invests in sport. You would see a lot of companies doing their part and helping out their country. And it shows, I think one of the biggest things is the culture, because I went to Jamaica to compete last year in 2024.
Yeah.
And Jamaicans, what I know about them, they're proud people. Jamaicans are proud to be Jamaican. They are glad to be Jamaican and they would support Jamaicans. Now, you might see the negatives here and there, but that is any country. But
Yeah.
Jamaicans are some of the proudest people I've ever seen in traveling to different countries. And just me going there, I remember one of the guys that was driving the bus, he asked me, he was like, how was your stay in Jamaica? I hope you enjoyed it. Did you try the food? Did you try this? A regular man on a bus was promoting his country that I was already in. And now I don't know if I've ever seen somebody doing that in Trinidad, but
Yeah.
to the extent that I'm already here and you basically promoting the country, you're proud of your country and you're proud of what it has to offer. And I think that is a big deal when it comes to culture and culture in sports. And that is something that we don't fully have. The track and field community in Trinidad and Tobago is very tight knit and it's very a small community. And
Yeah.
if we could grow that community and understand that track and field is a way out for a lot of people, not just
Yeah.
the athletes, we could use this machine for the benefit of everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's not, and we have the athletes, we have the talent. Now we just need to start building out our own machine so that we can start to produce our athletes at scale and give them the best support possible. Now, you
Facts.
had mentioned that you had to make the move over to the US. So originally, was it that you had gotten a scholarship? And I believe it was that you were over at South Plains College in Texas,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So was it that you got a scholarship and that's what it was able to give you the ability to now go and move over to the States?
Yes, and initially my plan was
Mhm.
as a junior athlete, I was a fast junior athlete. I wanted to be able
Yeah,
to go professional as a junior. I wasn't fast
yeah,
enough. So I had to say, well, okay, what's plan B? Go to college. I didn't have the requirements to go Division 1 at the time, so I had to
yeah,
go to a junior college, which was South Plains College.
yeah,
I did 2 years there, graduated from there, and had to finish off my next 2 years in a Division 1. So from
yeah,
there, I transferred from South Plains to the University of Alabama, where I
yeah,
was able to. I did summer school, so I graduated really early. I
yeah.
graduated in 1 year. Time moved really fast. I graduated in 1 year, so by 2017 I was done. I won my medal. I was able to sign a professional contract with Adidas, and the rest was history.
Wow, wow, wow. Man just said that so casually. He was able to sign a deal with Adidas. That is such a massive moment. When that Adidas uh connect reached out to you or how that situation happened. Walk us through. What was your day like that day when you got the call from Adidas?
So this is how it is kind of working track and field. You run fast or you do something special, you win a global medal, or you run fast or you're popular.
Yeah,
Um, an agent reaches out to you first, for the
yeah,
most part. Yeah, agent reaches out to you. You might talk to a few agents. For me, I spoke to about 5 different agents and I compared them all and went with the one that I'm most comfortable with.
yeah,
From there, my agent marketed me to different companies, which was like Adidas, Puma, Nike, and all the different companies to see who has the best offer. The best offer
yeah,
for me was Adidas. And
yeah.
as soon as I see the offer, I was like, yeah, this is the best one out of all of them. So I gone.
I love it. I love it. Now, for we have a lot of parents that are tuning in, and I mean the program is called Digital World, so people are tuning in for a lot of the business advice, learning about technology, and most importantly, we like to speak to a lot of people who have found ways out via a variety of different means. And I mean, track and field is definitely one of those. It's not the traditional job, right? You already know Caribbean parents. If you're not a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, you're a bum. What do you mean you want to go and run? You know what I mean? So when you had that conversation with your family that, hey, we're not gonna go and be a doctor. We're gonna take track and field serious. What was that conversation like with the fam?
Um, I was blessed that I never had to, honestly. I don't know. And to this day, I think I've never gotten like a solid answer from my mom. But from a really, really young age, my mom always supported me. Like I remember waking up 4 a.m. in the morning to go to national trials in Arima. We've never been to Arima before. We had to find our way there. And I remember going, she would go above and beyond supporting me in this sport. And I remember
Yeah,
asking her maybe a year or two ago, like, did you think that I could have gotten this far at a young age? Because I've been running track and field like since 8. And
yeah,
I was like, you really think I would have reached this far? And she was like, I was just supporting you. Like, I didn't really think, because she didn't know about you could go professional and all of those things. But she
right.
knew that it was something that I loved and she supported it wholeheartedly. She went above and beyond. And to this day, I'm still very extremely thankful because there was times that I wanted to give up because I struggled to make teams. But I
Yeah.
never had to have the conversation that this is what I want to do as a profession because my mom, shout out Yvette, but Yvette will soon shout you out here because from the jump, my mother, she supported me from the jump. I didn't have to ask her any question or have any conversation because from the beginning, she realized, okay, this is what my son like to do. I supported him straight through. And that was that.
You see, lucky and blessed because again, I always like to ask that question because many of the people who are doing some amazing things today, again, they're doing it in non-traditional ways. And when you have to have that conversation with your parent, like, hey, this is the direction that I want to go. Now I need your money and support to fuel this dream. That's where the clash of heads always happens.
And
Now
next
we
thing
have a
I
lot
would
of, go ahead. Yeah.
and next thing I would like to add to, I think traditionally, as you rightfully said, when it comes to extracurricular activities like sport and mixing with school, parents usually say, well, here we SEA coming up, CXC coming up. Yeah, they kind of cut down on that football practice, running, training, them kind of thing. And I think you're setting up your kids for failure that way because we all are grown-ups now and we know how life is life. And when you have two, three things to juggle, life not going to say, well, okay, put this away and then do this. You have to be able to multitask. Even if your child has a scholarship, gets a scholarship to go away, when they go to college, they need to be able to juggle academics and sport. So then why are we now in Trinidad and Tobago cutting off some of the kids from doing what they like and giving them that ability to unwind and think about something else? Let the brain fire in a different way and then try to deal with both. Because as you get older in life, nobody doesn't teach you this. You have to learn this by yourself. You have so much things to deal with as you become an adult. But if your parents now, while you're younger, taking you out of sport because you have CXC, you have SEA, then you're kind of setting them. I wouldn't say it would exactly set them up for failure, but you're putting them in something that is not real. Because when they get
Yeah.
older, they have to be able to multitask. Have to.
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right. They have to be able to multitask. Now, we have a lot of parents that are listening in. I'm sure many of them are parents to children who are athletes. If you are guiding the younger generation who is looking to get into track and field, what are some of the things that parents and kids should be looking at doing from a young age to prepare themselves to get into the world of athletics?
Into the world of athletics, I would say a lot of research needs to be done. You need to have at least a set plan.
Mm,
I've been able to use track and field to travel, to get a bachelor's degree, to become a professional athlete. Everyone, and I understand everyone doesn't have the same story and the same journey, but we
yeah.
all could use sport for the tool that it is. I never had to pay for college. I got a degree for free because of my talent.
Mm,
And I think everyone could utilize that. So research in terms of from as soon as someone gets into secondary school, they need to kind of know their requirements to get into college, a Division 1 college,
yeah.
which should be the top goal. So by the
Yeah.
time they're in Form 3 and they're picking subjects, they pick the right subjects because a lot of athletes fall into that trap where they already in Form 5, they already pick their subjects for CXC. And
Yeah.
when it's time to communicate with a school, they asking you, well, are you doing this subject? And it's like, well, no, I didn't pick that subject. So you
Yeah.
kind of now had to go back and do it in January or something like that. Or maybe you would have to change to go the junior college route where I did. So
Yeah.
I think having a set plan early could set you up for success. You definitely need to know what classes you're taking based on
Yeah.
what school you want to go to and what level of university you want to start off at. And I would say most part, just I would say most part just try to be, and as an athlete just try to be as best as you could be. I think I wish I learned earlier that I could only be as good as I could be. And we are in sport and we are in life where it's easy to compare yourself to other people, and as an athlete it's easy to compare yourself to another athlete because we times could match up. But realistically speaking, when you break down everything and just look at the core facts, I could only be as
Yeah.
good as I could be. And I could
At the end of
only
the day.
that's all I could do. So when I think about that, it makes me calm and peaceful inside that, you know what? Regardless of who I'm up against, regardless of what anybody else has done, that is not gonna affect me. I could only be as good as I could be.
Now, you have trained, I'm sure, all over the world at this point. You have met with every sports mind you could probably think of in terms of bettering your craft. What are some of the best lessons that you have learned over the years to prepare these next generation of athletes when it comes to training? Like, is there particular, should they be doing yoga? Should they be going to Denver and running in the hills? What are some of the things from a training perspective that people probably don't know that they should know as they're trying to build their careers in track and field?
There's a few things actually. Yeah. Consistency. Consistency is key. Becoming a professional athlete and becoming a great athlete, the more consistent you could be, the more good days you could pile up together. It it helps and it adds up. It might add up slow. It's like building a house. You start your house with good foundation and you take your time and lay down your bricks, lay down the foundation. It's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be a house that could weather the storm. Now, the second thing I would say, and it's a compilation of things in a way, but
Yeah.
I would say it's me versus me. You need to understand that. So you need to be able to beat yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. You need to be able to be the best you could possibly be in those three areas. Mental strength and mental capacity of how you deal with situations in life is very important. I
Yeah.
have a sports psychologist that I work with since actually 2013. I still talk to
Yeah.
her to this day. And I know in our culture, we don't really promote mental health too much, but it's starting to
Yeah.
become something a little bit important. But I know in Trinidad and Tobago it's not big of a deal because people is like, nah, you're just going through something. But when you really sit down and talk to a psychologist or a sports psychologist, you realize things about yourself that you didn't even know that you maybe have bypassed. And I I've I have became a better athlete understanding myself now. Physically, obviously, it goes back to the foundation. When you pile up good days of practice combined with good rest, it works over time. The more you pile it
Yeah.
up on top of each other, it works over time and you're going to see vast improvement. And lastly, spiritual. The spiritual foundation has to be strong for you to be able to weather the storm. I have been through trials and tribulation and through prayer, fasting, and just commitment and trusting in God in each and every situation, and just knowing that, at the end of the day, regardless of the outcome, it works for the greater good of the glory of God. I am peaceful in each and every situation. It could be the worst storm. I trust and I know that the grace and the mercy of God, everything would work for his good and his glory. And that gives me peace. So those are the things that I've learned over the years, and it's made me a calmer athlete, it's made me a more confident athlete, but most importantly, I can deal with each and every situation in life because I know at the end of the day, to God be the glory in the good times, to God be the glory in the bad time. But it's gonna work for the good all the time.
And this is why you're such an amazing ambassador of the culture and one of the brightest stars in the track and field on the global stage. Now, you show off a lot of the behind the scenes and some of the work that you do on your social media. Walk us through what does a typical day for you look like when you are training for our listeners? Because some people might just think that, well, Jereem's gifted, all this speed just was gifted to him. Right? What does a training day look like for you?
So I wake up every day around like 6:45, 7. Um,
Mm,
I have to get ready also. I have to help my wife for the most part, help my wife get my daughter ready. 'Cause we take
mm,
her to daycare. After I drop her off, I get to practice at maybe like 8:15. Um,
yeah,
I start warming up because we start warming up at 9. I do like my pre-activations before we start doing anything. We warm up. I'm at the track from at 9 till about maybe 10:45 to 11. Then from the
yeah,
track, I leave and head to the gym from around 11:30 to like about 1:30. Um, Depends on the day. If it's a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, I have a core
yeah,
session. So I would have core, maybe I wouldn't leave the gym until like about like 3:30. And
yeah.
By that time, I get home, to eat lunch, and then pick up a daughter from daycare and see her to sleep, and then the day starts all over. I probably go to bed for the most part around 10:30. I think a lot of people don't understand that as an athlete and as a professional athlete, this isn't a regular job. This is a
Yeah.
24/7 thing, because whereas some people would work like a 9 to 5, they go to work, they come back home. I mean, they could eat what they want.
Yeah.
My body is my business. So I have to get
Mm.
massages. I have to eat right. I have to hydrate. I have to go to bed on time because rest is the best recovery. Each and every decision that I make, I have to factor how is this going to affect my body for the next day. And
Oh, wow.
I think people, even saying it, I feel like a lot of people
Yeah.
wouldn't really understand that every decision I make, it has to be thinking that this is the business. And for the business to run efficiently, we have to put on a lot of restraints. A lot of things that normal people could do, I can't do because I
Go out for a
don't.
drink.
Yeah, I can't do them. I never me drink alcohol in years now because I just can't. I lose the taste for it. I never a drinker, but I lose the taste for it. I used to drink wine. I can't even drink wine because I don't like the taste of alcohol anymore. I haven't drank
Yeah.
in a while.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that is how it is, though.
yeah, no, those are some critical sacrifices that I don't think people think about. What are some other sacrifices that you have made to be a professional athlete on the global stage? Like you're not just, running for, shits and gigs, but what are some of the sacrifices you have made to get to where you are at?
Um, One thing I would say, we are in when you are elite athlete, you're in like this drug testing pool, just to
Hmm.
make sure it's a clean sport and everything like that. Every day you need to have a 1 hour time zone where a tester could randomly come and test you, right?
Oh,
So you
wow.
yeah, so they need to know every day of the year. I have to have a date and a time for where I'm going to be at a specific hour. So I guess that is one of the sacrifices. So yeah, you need to,
Wow.
yeah, because if you miss 3 tests in a row, you're done, you're banned. Um, Obviously being away from family is one of the most
Yeah.
difficult parts for me. Um, I live in Florida now, and I'm a
Yeah.
very family oriented person, as you know how our family is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I look forward to going home because I grew up around my family. We all
Yeah.
live in the same area, type of
Yeah.
deal. So being away from them is something that it took me a while to. I'm not really say I used to, but obviously I kind of in the USA by myself, and my mom and my aunties and everybody back in Trinidad.
Yeah.
That was a difficult thing, and even my intimate family, like my wife and my daughter, when I have to travel to Europe or go to the Olympics or World Championships, they don't travel with me all the time, and I mean, I'm a new father, so now being away from them is like, I feel like
Yeah.
I need like 3 or 4 days to mentally prepare for that, because that's not an easy thing to do neither. So there's a lot of sacrifices and a lot of challenges in becoming a professional athlete, and a lot of sacrifices that we have to make. But I think all in all, I mean, the sad thing is sometimes you make these sacrifices and you're like, okay, it was all worth it. And then sometimes you're like, ah, yeah, and sometimes, but that's life. That's life. That's life. That's life. Sometimes, yeah, it's a gamble.
And again, I'm glad that you're sharing this because I really want people to understand that Jereem the Dream is also human, right?
Yeah.
And when you take into consideration everything Dream has to do and what he is sacrificing to get on that podium and fly the flag, right? I want everybody to be kinder in the comments. Be kinder to our athletes because they have no idea everything that they are sacrificing and giving up to put us on the map. So be kinder when you're thinking about athletes.
I would add also, as a track and field athlete specifically, because I think we get done dirty a lot of times, right? And the Olympic year for us is the most stressful year as an athlete and as a Trinidad and Tobago athlete specifically. Because when it comes to support, and when I mean support, I mean people coming out to the stadium when we have our Olympic trials or our national trials. The stadium is never full, right? We promoted it a million times. People don't come out to watch. When the Olympic comes around, everybody watches. And when we don't get a medal, people have the world to see. Oh, Trinidad not good, this, that. Yeah, well, you would see the comments, right? So, but I say all of this to say, my experience this time, and a lot of people may or may not know my comment. I said I was sorry for not achieving a medal at the Olympic Games. And why I was sorry was I really wanted to change the notion of being negative that we didn't as a country achieve a medal. And I felt like I could have been the change, and obviously me not achieving a medal and just missing out on one. I felt like I failed in terms of trying to change the tide of the negative comments. And God works in such mysterious ways, because when I looked at the comments after, it was a lot of positive comments. And a lot of people said, well, you know, Jereem, we could see that you gave your best. We could see that this was 100%. This is a gold medal in my eyes. I saw so much positive comments this year, right? This has been my third Olympic Games. And trust me, the first two comments was terrible. But you see, this time around, I would still like to say thank you to the people of Trinidad and Tobago that left a good comment there, that supported the athletes, that supported the team. Because at the end of the day, the athletes that represent our country is a reflection of our country. This is the best that we have to offer.
Exactly.
So I feel like once we understand that, okay, these are our athletes, this is a representation of us. Oh, you could watch yourself and bad talk yourself, but I appreciate that there was a lot of positive comments this time around. And when I saw that, I felt better. It was like a weight lifted off of my shoulders, because the effect that I wanted to get by winning a medal, I got the same effect without winning a medal. And that is a blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you have gone through many races during your career. Walk us through, give us a very good story of one of the hardest races that you had to run. I mean, we all, you know, we all wish we could be in your mind when you're going through the paces, when you're seeing people coming up next to you. We wonder what you were thinking. So walk us through, what was your hardest race that you've ever had, and walk us through what was going through your mind when you ran that race.
So the hardest race I've ever had was the Commonwealth Games 200-meter finals in 2022. Why it was such a difficult race for me is because 4 years prior, in 2018, I also won the event. But there was a little bit of a commotion with me and a guy from England, Daniel Hughes, because he kind of swing his hand around and hit me in my chest. Initially, we ran the same time, but when they broke down the time, his was 1,000th of a second faster than me. So we both ran 2012, but his was faster by 1,000 of a second when they broke it down.
Wow.
Eventually, watching the footage, they disqualified him, right?
Right.
So I won, but I won by default. And now going into this 4 years later, going into the Commonwealth Games in 2022, is like, well, okay, it was in Birmingham, England, right? Is he crowded? He running the same event again. And I kind of thinking, I was like, Jereem, if you lose this race, they're going to say he should have won the last one. So I had the pressure of, we're running against each other again. The stakes are high because the last time we ran, he lost by default. So now this is like the rematch they're looking for. And I went on that line and I was like, you know what? Lock in. This is yours. And it was the most perfect race I've ever ran. It was difficult dealing with all the factors and the backstory of it. But from the gun Each and every step was intentional. And just to give you all some more context, how it feels for us
Yeah.
as athletes, it's like a euphoric feeling. I feel like when you do it and you do it right, my sports psychologist calls it the zone of optimal performance. And everyone, not just in sport, experiences, musicians experience it when they go into like, it's like your body knows what to do, how to do it, and it's like you don't even have to try to do it. I feel like I'm almost, for me, it feels like I'm watching myself run from third person. That is how it is feeling to me, right? When you get into that zone.
Yeah.
And coming off the turn, I came off before him, and I'm never one to be the best off the turn, but that day I was the best off the turn. And on the home straight, I was like, well, okay, this is where I'm at my best. And I started to go. And I pull away and I ran. It was cold that night too. I ran 19. That's where I ran 1980.
Yeah.
It was the games record. It was I think I ran faster than the great Frankie Fredericks, who's a legend in the sport.
Wow.
Across the line, and I didn't even care about the time because in my mind I was like, for 4 years I carried the burden of wondering, would I beat him the next time we come around? And it finally happened. So I was like, for sure, no, nobody could say he should have won the first one because we run again and I beat him. You know, so that was definitely one of the most difficult races for me, because of the backstory. But to God be the glory, but it was a good race though.
Absolutely. Now, we know that throughout sports, there are some athletes that are larger than life. They have big energy, they have an aura. You walk in the room, and if you are an opponent and you're like, oh, shoot, LeBron showed up, you kind of get rattled, you kind of get on your nerves start to flare up. Is there somebody in track and field that you feel has big energy? As soon as they walk in, everybody kind of looks and like, oh wow, we're lining up next to this guy, and you feel like nerves start to rattle. Who has that big energy in track and field?
Um, well, I would say though,
Yeah,
in my younger professional era, stuff
yeah,
is the rattle myth. Do things, yeah. People don't rattle me anymore, though. But if I still have to say who has big energy, the biggest in the
yeah.
game right now is Noah Lyles. We train in the same camp.
Mm,
He has big energy. He's a showman. He talks a big talk and he backs it up. Noah is probably the guy with the biggest energy. I've never really experienced him in like the call room setting. The call room is basically
yeah,
where it's like it's the holding area that we are in before we go out to the field. So
yeah,
usually there is where sometimes people might try a little bit of mind games, or then obviously
yeah.
you could see some people on the line, like they would scream, they would shout, they might jump, they might do something to catch the attention of people. But I've learned easily, like, yo, just lock in and focus on you because yeah, that's not me. Them thing to rattle me again.
Now, you said early in your career, it used to rattle you. Like, was there a particular person that used to rattle you? Like in your early years, you would see them and you're like, oh God, I gotta go up against this guy.
The only time it actually really happened to me,
Yeah,
my first Commonwealth Games ever. This was 2014.
yeah.
As a big fan of Warren Way. He was from
Mm,
Jamaica. He was skinny just like me, and he was running fast. It kind of
yeah,
gave me motivation that okay, he's
yeah,
skinny, I skinny, he could run fast. You know, we got the same heat in the Commonwealth Games, and I was between starstruck and scared at the same time because I was like, okay, I look up to him, but he fast though, and we running in the
yeah,
same race. So I was like, I don't know. And I remember setting up my blocks. He didn't even really do nothing. He just had aura. Um,
yeah,
I remember trying to set up my blocks. I set up my blocks wrong. I put the wrong foot in front, and I did kind of fumbling, trying to, because I was studying him. But that was the first time in my career I actually was in a race with someone, and I just kind of lost focus and was kind of focusing on what they was doing.
Now, they don't teach a lot of people, when you're at that level, how do you block things out? But for you, there was a switch that happened where, you were able to now block out, all of the antics, the big energy people. You no longer get rattled. What did you have to do to kind of make that switch to be able to block out all of, because it's a lot of noise. you're only competing against the biggest and the best and the biggest stadiums worldwide. So how do you lock in and block out all of that noise?
So you ever hear the saying, you had to burn to learn? You had to burn in track and field, and in sport, in life, you had to burn to learn. Some people just burn a little bit longer than they should, but
Yeah,
didn't take me too long. I've learned in life the best way to learn is to learn from other people's mistake, right?
absolutely.
The second best way to learn is to learn from your mistakes. But if you can learn from other people's mistakes, you are the greatest. But also, still, if you can learn from your mistakes, it gives you that hands-on experience. And that has helped me immensely. If I go back to the same Commonwealth Games, my first one in 2014, it was my first time performing in front of a full packed stadium. I'm talking about tens of thousands of people. And I remember first walking out and hearing the uproar of the crowd. I was lost. I forgot where I was going. I forget what I was doing because in my mind, this is the most amount of people that I've ever ran in front of. Fast forward to the Paris Olympics. This was the biggest stadium ever. It's had no stadium, no track meet has ever had so much people, right? And I remember walking out for the 400-meter final. It was the loudest crowd I've ever heard in my life.
Wow.
And when we were under the starters' orders, it was the loudest silence I've ever heard in my life. And I have never experienced silence like that. It was, listen to what I say, it was a loud silence. You go from hearing the loudest thing that you could ever hear to then hearing the loudest silence you ever hear, right? And I was locked in. It didn't faze me. But what did come to my mind though? I was like, if somebody had never experienced this before and this is their first time, I'm sorry for them because yeah, I cannot describe how silent it was. It was very extremely silent, and I'm like, I could hear myself breathing, and I don't even breathe hard. I could hear my heart beating, and I wasn't even scared. But that's to show how silent it was, and it's just things that you have to learn in life. You just have to learn from your mistakes and learn fast. But
Yeah.
a brilliant person would learn from other people's mistakes and not make those same mistakes.
Oh man, I know what you mean. Well, I don't know what you mean. Not at that level, but I could imagine when you have 10,000 plus people and you could hear a pin drop. That's intimidating. My goodness. Now, switching gears a little bit, right? When parents are thinking about supporting their kids, getting them into helping them get into track. They're paying for the education, they're helping them do whatever they got to do. One of the questions that gets asked is, how do athletes sustain themselves? I mean, if you got the Adidas gig, I'm sure you got a nice piece of money, right? But how do athletes sustain themselves? So, if you don't get the big contracts and you're now kind of coming up, how do athletes sustain themselves?
So it's very, very difficult. And you know that now. To be at this elite level, you spend more than you make. You could do that. If you do have a contract, you spending more than you're making. So this is basically you kind of following your dreams. Ways athletes could help themselves. The government has an elite athlete program where they have funding for elite athletes and grant funding for people who don't fall into that category, that it covers some of your athletic expenses. I think the Olympic Committee also does it to an extent. I think NLCB also has it. And I think there's a sports and culture grant also, but you have to qualify for it also. And I think when you fill out there's forms to fill out. You would send it to your national governing body. So for me, it's the entry is they would approve it. They would send it to the Olympic Committee. Then they approve it. And the last stop is at government. And then once everything is clear, they have all the information they need. Then you just have to wait till they distribute the funds. Outside of that, corporate sponsors is another avenue. As I said, I'm sponsored by Atlantic and I'm sponsored by Bridens. That actually helps a lot also. But I feel like in a sense it's hard if you do have a good resume. If your resume
Yeah.
now building your resume, corporate sponsors could actually be very difficult.
Yeah.
As I said, I just
So yeah,
kind of
are people still working jobs whilst they're trying to go and run?
so yes, a lot of athletes still work and try to run, and you're not gonna get the best out
Wow.
of your body because it's like you're beating up your body trying to work, and then you're gonna beat up your body in practice, and then you're not
Yeah.
gonna get enough rest, and you have to get up to go to work and then training. At that point, you doing this for a hobby. This is not professional anymore. So it's difficult. It's very difficult for the athletes that don't have a track and field shoe deal.
Yeah.
They are gonna struggle a lot. It's not easy. Um, could better and more be done for us as athletes? Because in a sense, I think this is national service. I consider myself like an army man in a way. Just in a different
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm representing my country. I'm an ambassador for my country, just in a different form. Not as
Yeah.
I think this is in a sense some type of service work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how I think about it. But then obviously it's for people and sponsors to see the value in it, and then obviously the athletes to give them the value for them to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now that brings up a very important question. How important is it to build a brand as well? So you're doing amazing on the track, but how important is it to build a brand alongside that?
It's important. I still feel like I have a lot of work to do with building my own brand, but outside, and when it comes to getting a shoe deal too, they also look at how much followers you have on your social media platforms. You have to be careful about what you post. All these things is like they're doing a background check. So if you know you have sketchy stuff on your social media, that's not gonna look good for you because they associate yourself with the digital you also. And
Mm.
you need to be marketable, but you also need to have a strong social media presence because then brands will say, well, okay, Jereem has X amount of followers. We can now reach people that we never thought about reaching in sport, in track and field, in these different areas. And this is a market businesses would like to reach. So it's very, very important. I would tell younger athletes, be very careful about what you post and how you post because you never know who's watching and you never know who you're going to meet. Even be careful with how you are in public, what you say
Mm.
and what you do in public because you never know who watching you. And that's a scary thing. Somebody could be the head of a business or a company and maybe might be interested in you and you might have a bad day and say something bad and then they see you and it's like, I don't think that person might be a good look for the company. And that's just how it works. So you are not saying to be fake, but you need to know you are a business on the track.
Discernment,
Yeah, you need to
self-censor.
you need to be, as you are a business on the track, you need to be a business in public also.
No, and you see, and something that I don't think people understand is you're famous. Everybody knows you, but you don't know who the CEO is of 99% of these companies. And they have millions of dollars to spend. So you could be in the bar, you could be somewhere, and you could just, something happen, tempers flare, you say the wrong things or do the wrong things. At the end of the day, everybody knows you. You don't know all of these other people and you don't know who else is in the room. So, which brings me perfect segue into my next question. How do you manage the pressures of being a pro athlete, but also a public figure?
Pressures of a pro athlete. I don't have pressure anymore in my early.
Okay, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, in my early I did, but now I don't. Public figure. I think I deal with it really well. This is just how I think.
Mhm.
I remember in 2017 when I first got my medals and I came back home,
Yeah,
they had a big reception for me in Point Fortin.
yeah,
And I remember they had a motorcade. Kids was there from school. Like it was a big, big deal. The whole point was outside.
yeah.
And I was trying to get to the middle of Victor Chinkitt Park where the reception was going to be. And every 2 steps, I had to take pictures. 2 steps, picture, 2-step, picture, 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 picture. I smiled till the back of my neck started to get tight. If you ever smile so much or laugh so much, you know that kind of pain behind your neck, right behind your head there. And I had almost reached to the middle of the park where I was supposed to go. And then a big group of people came to take pictures again. And on my face, I don't have a good poker face. My wife just tell me that all the time. I don't have a good poker face at all. I started to get mad. Auntie Joy was right next to me. And she kind of easily just pulled me and say, here, what? She said, you never know if you're ever going to be in this situation again. She said, you need to enjoy the moment while it's here. She said, put yourself in the place of the people that want to take a picture with you. You've done something special and you've been blessed that people want to associate themselves with you and take a picture with you. When you're done running, people going to forget you and nobody going to want to take no picture with you. So enjoy this moment now and take them pictures. And Auntie Joy turned my mind different one time. I was like, you know what? She right. If it was me trying to take a picture with someone and they told me no, I would have been disappointed and I might have judged that person. What? You can't even take a picture with me. So now I take pictures with everybody. If I'm in a hurry though, I say, and there's a group of people, I will say, here, well, let we all take one picture together because I have something to do and I had to get here now. And I'll say it in a very kind, positive way. I'm still trying to get a picture. And that is it. But I had to learn. I definitely had to learn. But that moment kind of turned on the light switch for me there. And big up Auntie Joy one time too, because yeah.
Big up Auntie Joy, because listen, that is such like people don't understand how important that is. Jereem, all of these celebrities, all these popular people are still human too. And when you have gone through an entire day of smiling, pictures, you're like, all right, cool. Now you're just trying to do normal stuff. You no longer have a normal life, right? And it's going to be like this for as long as you are in the spotlight. Even me, right? I'm nowhere near what Dream is doing. And there are so many days where I look at my phone, like right now, I have almost 300 messages on WhatsApp. And then we're not even talking about the other social media platforms, the emails, because people are reaching out to you because you're in the public space, you're teaching, you're on radio, on TV, and you're talking about all these different ways to help people. And even me, I'm like, I can't be famous. Like this in my own little small world is a lot to deal with. I'm like, I can't even imagine what this looks like times 1,000. So for everybody that is in the space like Jereem and the Marshalls, the everybody that is in this public space, like again, keep in mind, everybody, give these people grace because you have no idea what they're going through from a day to day as well. All right. Now I have two more questions before we wrap up, Dream. Jereem, I know you're not going to be running forever. Father Time comes for us all. What does post track and field life look like for you so far that you have been thinking about?
Good question. I want to be a business entrepreneur. Been talking to a few business owners and looking for like a good mentor because I've realized most successful people had a really good mentor. I believe in if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. You need to have,
Absolutely.
yeah, you have to have smart people around you. I want to get into business, but I really have a passion for sport, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. I might want to get into coaching. I might want to get into maybe some type of sports management, but I do have a passion for sport. And just me looking in on Trinidad and Tobago, seeing the things that could be fixed in sport, I feel like essentially it could be an easy fix. But I would like to be able to create opportunities for young people in sport because, as I said, sport has done so much for me. I was able to get a degree I was able to travel. And this is something, even if I was working a job, I would have still tried to run part-time because it's something I love to do. I'm doing something I love to do and I'm getting paid to do it. So I have a passion for sport. I have a passion for track and field, and I would like that all young people and able-bodied people be able to utilize it for what it is. Not everyone is going to become a professional athlete, but I believe that each and every one could use sport for what it is. It's a means of you being able to fast forward your life and get ahead in life. And if you do it right, save money doing it. I didn't have to pay for my scholarship. I didn't have to pay for school. I traveled to a lot of countries. I didn't have to come out of pocket for none of them. I traveled most continents in the world. I think I went to, and all of them. Yeah, I went to all the continents in the world. I never
Wow.
had to pay a cent to go there. So
Wow.
that is what I would like to do. I would like to be involved in sport because I truly believe that when I'm done, I don't want to do something that I don't love because I've been doing something I've loved for all these years. I running
Yeah.
since 8, 9 years old. I'm
Yeah.
about to be 31 on Monday. And
Wow.
yeah, and I've been
Happy early
doing
birthday.
thank you. But I've been doing it so long. I don't wanna come out of the sport and then do something that I don't love because I wouldn't be happy. And I just want to be happy.
Mm, beautifully said, man. Again, just a lot to think about. My final question for you today is what is the legacy that you want to leave behind on the track and also off the track?
Um, on the track, the legacy I want to leave is the greatest, most decorated Trinidad and Tobago athlete in history. Now, I would like that somebody else comes and tops it, but when I'm done, it must be Jereem the Dream Riches was the greatest thing, the most versatile sprinter, the most decorated sprinter that Trinidad and Tobago has ever seen. And off the track, this quote has been resonating with me so much recently. Um, it said that an apple tree cannot consume its own fruit. Its fruit is to bless other people. And I think the legacy that I would like to leave is the ability to bless other people, to help someone out where you could help. You are blessed with something that is going to help someone. And I think if each and every one doesn't gather their food for themselves and is able to disperse it and say, well, okay, I would bless you with this, I would bless you with this, I'm good at this, I would bless you with this, or I have an abundance of this, I would bless you with this because I have my cup is overflowing, I would bless you. I think that is the legacy that I would like to leave back because we all need help in areas. No man is an island. And I think when we could come together and work together and help each other out, progress is a must. Progress is a must. And I think everyone could be happy.
That was a sermon. And I know that that is something that somebody listening needed to hear today. Dream, this was an amazing conversation. I know people got to see a different side of you today. I really wanted people to see you not just for the highlights, but just get to know you a bit more and understand some of the work that you put in to get to where you are at. You're not like, yes, you are gifted, but you also have to work on that gift to be and get where you want to be. But then also, I want people to see that, there's still more to life than just track. Like he's doing so much more than just track. And again, he's also thinking about we're getting up there in age. He's 31. He's not going to be running forever. So he's also thinking about what he's going to be doing post track and field as well. Dream, thank you for taking the time, joining us on the digital world. We definitely got to have you again later on in the year. I mean, what are you excited for 2025?
This is my saying this year. 2025 is gonna be my greatest year ever. I trust in and firmly believe in it. Training has been going well. I'm really excited. I learned a lot last year, and I've learned a lot in my lifetime, and I'm doing my best to compile all these positive things together and make it the best year ever.
Hey, we support you 100%. 1000%. If you want to go and follow Jereem and keep up with his progress, where do they go and find you online?
Most active on Instagram for the most part. Remy Rich, Remy underscore Rich 19, REEMY underscore Rich 19. Facebook, my page is Jereem Richards. Twitter, same Remy underscore Rich 19. Blue Sky, same Remy Rich underscore 19. TikTok, same Remy Rich underscore 19. Or if you can't even remember that, just type in Jereem Richards, you would find it.
I love it, brother. Thank you for taking the time and joining us on here on Freedom 106.5 on the digital world. We wish you nothing but success for the rest of the year.
Thank you. Thank you. Once again, Happy New Year, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the year and make 2025 your greatest year ever.
Thank you, Jereem. Folks, that was Jereem Richards. Listen, that was a word, and I think this entire show, I hope that it puts you in the best possible mood. I hope this show got you excited to tackle 2025. You got a lot of tips, a lot of strategies, gaps, things to leave back in 2024 when we had the conversation with Jared Best Mitchell and Lyndon Braffett. And then we close out the show with my cousin, Jereem Richards. If you are thinking about getting into sports, he gave some really good insights on how to get in, how athletes sustain themselves, some of the things that you need to look out for if you want to be able to become an elite athlete. So I hope you got a lot of good nuggets from Jereem and, put it to good use. And listen, Jereem is so approachable that if you have questions, if you have kids, if you are an athlete yourself and you are, trying to break in or you need some advice, reach out to Jereem. He is somebody who is always willing to share. And again, he wants to make that impact. You do have the resources, you have people that you can ask. So, feel free to reach out to Jereem Richards.